Hello and welcome to the 21st Bo Cameronian Arts Awards on set. My name is Miriam, your host for the session, and together with me are the representatives from Fragments of Tuah by Five Arts Centre. Welcome all and congratulations on your nominations. I'm very excited to be talking to you today. And I want to start with a very simple question. How did this all begin?
It began with the pandemic, I guess, with COVID-19, and we noticed that the figure of Hang Tuah was re-emerging a lot online, and a lot of these TikTok videos and IG Reels videos were kind of really creating a new narrative of Hang Tuah related to proving his actual existence.
Yeah.
So this was interesting to us because, of course, Hang Tuah is like one of the kind of like symbols or metaphors that continues throughout Malaysian culture for like hundreds of years. But this desire to definitively prove his existence was new. People have always been kind of comfortable with it being a myth or a bit of history. Tuah Jebat debate is a kind of ever present in Malaysian social life. So we started kind of leaning into why this desire to prove his authenticity during this moment in time. And of course, during the COVID moment, we're all on screens all the time. It's a time of paranoia. Now, with some distance from that moment, we know like a lot of conspiracies and conspiratorial kind of thinking proliferated during this moment, and so that kind of got our desire to look into this figure of Hang Tuah, which is not naturally, I think, for us a figure of wonder. Yeah.
We had to start a reading group during the pandemic to help each other actually get through the very thick
500 pages.
Yeah, 500 pages.
Yes.
It was like a support system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of want it. Was there like a group chat? I really want to see this group chat.
I can't remember.
Yeah.
Apa benda ni?
But let's go into now the production itself, and I believe there was 7 chapters, or 7 kind of fragments to it. Let's begin first with the decision to make 7 chapters. How did you land on these different fragments?
I think because I think it was just too hard to maybe contain the story of Hang Tuah through like one linear fashion, because Hang Tuah, through our reading and our research, became more and more multiple things to different types of people.
Yeah.
So I think we came up with the strategy of the fragments because of at least that was one of the reasons, I think.
And also because I guess these fragments speak to our curiosities. I mean, it's voluminous, the Hikayat Hang Tuah and the various versions of the manuscripts that exist, but also the discourses, sociological, historical, literary, political, that surround the figure of Hang Tuah. So I think for us, we lean. We were interested in everything, but eventually we were like, okay, what are certain things that like most interesting to us, most problematic, most contradictory, most lend themselves to working through design and performance and things like that. So of course, for example, there was a fragment related to that iconic 1956 film with P. Ramlee, which was one of the earliest color films in Malaya, very significant because it's a year before Malayan independence. There's a fragment that looks at how the social media Hang Tuah that we mentioned earlier kind of speaks to our contemporary moment. There are also, like, the show ends with Faiq's curiosity, which is looking at this final 2 chapters of the Hikayat, which, as far as we could see, no scholars focus on, this kind of ambiguous ending where the glory has ended, so to speak. Yeah. So we were just leaning into our curiosities and things that spoke to us.
Thank you. And I'd like to dive a little bit more into perhaps that ending of the show later on. But Sam and Tay Sy, can we talk a little bit more about, your work? How do you respond to these curiosities and translate them into the works that you've done?
Well, I'm from Malacca.
Yes,
I'm the only one.
right in the middle.
Also, like the director approached us, like, Tay Sy, you're from Malacca, right? Yes. Let's, look at Hang Tuah. Like, I think for me, probably a bit also going back to the fragment, it's also because Hang Tuah has been very concretized, like almost one linear, no one challenged. When we talk about Hang Tuah, the first thing are loyal to the king, kill his friend for the king, So it's like almost there's no other possibility. But in fact there is, but it's just never had that approach. So like for me, interesting is because first of all, like through this project, I realized that it's how near and how far this figure with us. When I say near, it's actually my school is in Jalan Hang Tuah in Malacca. I pass by Day One Hang Tuah all the time. So it's like the name Hang Tuah almost, I kind of shut it down. It doesn't mean anything. It's just a name. Then suddenly when this project come about, to highlight this figure again, pop out, it's like, oh wow, I also choose to not looking at it. So that is something for me interesting to rediscover. Like how we can also be ignorant, to be disconnect to things that we think we can't change or we don't want to deal with, that kind of thing.
Interesting, thank you. Because you don't realize it until you're forced to realize it.
Yes.
And then when you actually look at it, you're like, how? Why and how? And
I think Faiq have a line called "I'm looking for him everywhere," and he's everywhere. When I look for him. It's that kind of realizations like wow.
He's actually literally everywhere.
Right.
And Sam, what about you?
For this particular theatre, I think the one that really pushed, I guess, my visual designs with my multimedia design and lighting design is actually from Tay Sy, bringing out the set with pages from the Hang Tuah book, and that for me is quite challenging and also quite fun in a way that because usually most projection designers would want to like put their visuals on a clearer or more smoother surface to project on, but where we are playing is like it's it's noisy because there's like a lot of text on it, but I feel like we could push this idea actually. So during the process, it's just like a lot of playing, a lot of trying,
fail,
and failing,
A lot of tearing of books.
a lot of tearing of books, destroying things,
a lot of stapling.
Still a stapling.
But helping book sales also.
All very important.
Every act of destruction is also an act of creation.
Construct and deconstruct.
I felt like this round, like in terms of projection is and lighting, is it's actually trying to make everything gel together, and this is quite unique because it's when I look at it again, it's like I'm not just throwing visuals on the background. I'm actually throwing on actual scripts, actual books, actual pages. It feels alive. I mean, the projections feels alive with the set. So it's it feels like a one thing rather than it's two separate designers.
This is something that I want to highlight because when we apply the going to bold Cameroonian, like I actually later mentioned to our producer and say, please this time the set design had to include the multimedia designer, because the set doesn't exist without the multimedia. So it doesn't make sense when you have 3 screens without any projection narrative, and it also they cannot exist without my screen. So it's like really well merged together. And this is something for me to discover that's very interesting. In the past we worked together a lot, but we always see it at
There's a
projection
separation.
surface and set. But this round, right, suddenly it kind of come together. It need to coexist, and it kind of intertwine it very well. First time.
Thank you. That kind of segues. What I wanted to say earlier just now is that there's a lot of things happening on the stage, and we're seeing and listening to a lot of different things, but they come together really well, and that kind of cohesion is, I think, telling of your relationships as collaborators. And our theme for our award show today, I mean this year, is on Collabion. It's co-creating the future. How do you, I know you've been collaborators for a long time. What has changed or what has evolved in your collaborative spirit or dynamic, perhaps?
I think it's trust. Like you can't collaborate if you just work together one time. And also I think the relationship of collaboration is people come and go, because everyone also have their own journey and departure, and then work with the group in a different time and phases of their life. So it's, I think collaborations is for us, at least for this group, is actually there is room for breathing, where people will also at the same time working on their own stuff, discovering. This group working together is kind of like a parallel with personal journey. And I guess the group already works so long together that we allowed this breathing space for each other. Like, for example, like Mark mentioned about Faiq sent him song. And it's also, I think that's how it triggered, like, we should put in Faiq song in this. That kind of, so it's very, it kind of naturally, but it, because there has been so much time we spend together, work together, and actually a lot of time collaboration is not just about project, it's actually hanging out. We hang out. And a lot of time ideas come from there. You know, like it's not like you put Peter together like ding 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 ding. It's not so much like that. It's like oh chill, you know, like travel together or see things together.
I think Sam, you used a really nice word, playful. And I think a lot of people, you know, it's always like this stress, oh, we got to get this done, we got to get the grants in, we got to like complete that. But that playfulness in creating together. Does anyone want to chip in to what Tay Sy has said?
Yeah, just to echo what Tay Sy said, I think trust is something that I don't dare to say solidified, but at least it's present. Especially while working on Fragments, because I can't really remember what it was like working on the past ones. But a sense of, and it's hard to explain. It's kind of like, it's like small little things that we do when we present something. There's less of, this word is too strong to use, but less kind of like anxiety or less, less, but more, quietness to the.
I mean, collaboration is a tricky word because there's also, you know, people are war collaborators. It's not only, I mean, of course, we're not thinking of that context, but I think part of the collective intelligence, if I can use that term, that we've kind of developed consciously, but also like subconsciously over the years of working together is precisely this thing that is a bit intangible. You know, there are certain tangible things. Okay, it's a group of people coming together in a space, but there are lots of like intangible things. And I guess because we take a more documentary approach when we work together, and we're dealing often with experiences that we ourselves go through and generate, so that time and space apart is as useful as the time and space together. And then our entry points to bringing materials to work on comes from like personal places, as well as our social frustrations, our political frustrations as well. So yeah.
Yeah. Hang Tuah is this. He's not just politically charged, but he's also like socially charged and economically charged. I remember going to Malacca a couple of times and just seeing remnants of him in different, just popping up everywhere. And like you said, he's kind of everywhere. Dude's everywhere. So for me, my question to you is how, after the show in KL, and I believe you brought it to BIPAM as well?
To Kyoto.
Kyoto.
Yeah.
What has perhaps an audience said to you that has stuck with you throughout this whole process?
I can go first, and if you guys think of, but
Yes.
When we performed it in Kyoto, someone who had seen a lot of our work in Japan over the last 10 years said something quite profound. I'll try and be brief. This person said that when I saw your show like Baling 10 years ago, I felt it was really interesting, but I really felt like I was watching Malaysian history or Malaysian politics, and I can sense the urgency of what is being told, and it's important, but it did feel distant, and it's an interesting piece of work. But this person also said, like, watching Fragments of Tuah right now, it felt really, really close, because although it's about a Malaysian myth or legend or story or history, they felt like this reusing or repurposing or re-articulating of old symbols, old narratives, old notions of power, retelling the stories or even distorting them in some cases felt very close in a context like Japan. I mean, I think it's no mystery to say that we're in a bad place in the world right now. And making the past great again in some way or another is a global
narrative,
context that we're all dealing with right now. So that was cool.
And also, I think talking to one of an audience who know our work, mentioned about, because I think if I'm not mistaken, the day we have our first show is where the first female Japan's PM was elected.
That's right.
Okay.
And she's the ultimate right wing.
Right wing. Okay.
So then it was like, wow. So that friend is like kind of telling me that suddenly all these things, highlight
coming up
again,
and
because in the
shifting,
context of what is happening in Japan.
Yes.
And also we know Japan have their king, they have, kind of similar-ish and different system like us. So they have prime minister. So something that he felt suddenly very strong about the work that kind of remind him the current political situation in Japan.
Thank you. Yeah. I suppose the importance, like, the past never really gets forgotten or lost, and it's important to examine what keeps coming up, right, and putting it into today's context. Sam, what about you?
Is the legends lah. I think every country or every what do you call it, places have their own legendary figure. And I think a lot of them, after watching Fragments, they kind of relate to their legendary heroes or whatever it is, and they can see certain connections where how people use those legendary figures to move certain things, to push certain ideology or belief.
Probably. Faiq, perhaps because you are the storyteller, but several different storytellers as well, what was something that an audience member shared with you that connected them to?
I think maybe like after a friend, like an old ex-colleague from years ago saw the show and said that was not taken aback but was surprised, I guess, to see a kind of journey of, because we're the same age, and she also felt a kind of change in like right-wing politics, and she was also reminded how that change was present in her life and in her work, because she works in media as well. So that was something that, you know, was nice to hear, but also to echo, because this was actually surprising when we were doing the show in Japan, like always worried, at least myself, always worried like that I think I get this right. But yeah, so like I think a person came up and said that, oh yeah, we just elected Sanai Takaichi, like the first
Female
Prime Minister, Prime Minister, who's extremely right wing, and that was what was going through their minds when they were watching the show. So that was, I don't know, reaffirming, I guess, in a messed up kind of way.
But yes, no, thank you so much for sharing just a little bit about your process, your thoughts. Congratulations once again on the nominations. And to the audiences listening in, that wraps up our conversation with the representatives of Fragment of Tuah by Five Arts Center. Thank you so much for watching. I am Miriam, and I will see you in the next session. Thank you.